Hi, I'm Ambrose Gonzalez, and this is Jayville Area Sports.
Hello, everyone. On September 12th, before the Jacksonville Kiwanis Club, head coach Claire Scully made her presentation to the club. It was a wonderful presentation, provides a lot of insight into our first year head coach of Lady Blue Volleyball. It's 30 minutes long, so if you have time, please tune in. Here it is.
Because I have a tendency to talk and ramble, so I will save you all from that as best I can. As Patrick said, my name is Claire Scully. I am the head coach, the head volleyball coach here at IC. I'm new-ish to the area, probably at the end of the time period that I can call myself new. I've been here for about 7 months. I'm originally from the East Coast, not from Philadelphia. I'm from New Jersey. I'm a Jets and a Mets fan. So when Patrick insinuated that I might be an Eagles fan, that's about the worst thing you can call me. Whatever you may try, I think an Eagles fan is worse. And honestly, rather than tell you about myself and tell you about Illinois College, when honestly most of you have a longer history with it and more of a connection to it than I do at this point, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the kinds of athletes and the kinds of people I spend my day-to-day with. And I'd really like to kind of debunk the myth that is the kids these days attitude. Because although they're not technically kids, the day-to-day of my job, if I had to sum up my job description, my day-to-day is dictated by the emotional and mental whims of 17 to 22-year-old girls. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot that comes with that. And I consider it a very important job, but I would like to remind everybody that everybody's parents in every previous generation has had a kids these days attitude. For anybody in the room, if you were a punk rock or hard rock fan, and when the Who came out and the Ramones came out, I guarantee you your parents didn't love it. I guarantee you some people may have thought the radio was the devil. I guarantee you, and I say this as a person standing up here with 13 tattoos on her body, that if you were not in the military and you had a tattoo, you were probably a thug and an awful human being that was never going to have a job, right? Yeah, really. No, but that's kind of the context that I look at the young people that I work with, and that even sometimes when I slip up and say like, what in the world is going on, and what are these kids doing and thinking, like, or what playlist have they put on that I have to sit through 2.5 hours of a practice and listen to and try and lead them in the right direction, that, you know, my parents would not have been super pleased with the amount of Tupac and Biggie that were on my playlist as a child. But now everybody considers them the kind of artists that people want their kids to listen to, and rap and hip hop isn't the same these days, yada yada yada, right? And I think it's just really important for you all to get an image of when I asked some of my athletes, you know, I'm coming to speak to this group of people from the community that are long-standing community members, deep connections to all different parts of the community. What do you want them to know about us? And what do you want them to remember about you guys, about them, about themselves, when I stop talking up here? And I think, for context, a couple of those answers that I think it's really important that you all know. The first thing to come out of their mouths was that we're trying to win a championship, and we're not just here for a good time. And as Division III athletes are doing what they're doing by choice. There is no incentive other than their love of the game for them to be doing what they're doing. And let me tell you, I ask a lot of them. I take up a lot of their time. They see me and my bright and shining face and hear this voice probably more than they want to from the months of August through November. And nobody is paying them to be here. Nobody's sponsoring them to be here. That is something that they do by choice. And it is a very specific pet peeve of mine when people consider Division III athletes lesser or less competitive, because it is purely by choice. And if you were to tell, again, you may not know who this athlete is, but if you were to tell Alex Johnson, one of my seniors, yeah, no, you're Division III, you're not that competitive, I challenge you to survive that conversation. I challenge you. She's a phenomenal young woman, gonna do some really phenomenal things, but she was the one who said, we're trying to win a championship, right? There's a lot of successful sports at Illinois College. A lot of the right people in the right places, money being given, the right amount of money being given to the right things at the college. And we are trying to follow in those footsteps, and we're positioned pretty well to do that. And that is a full program mindset of 23 young women all working towards that goal. But I think something that will really speak to you all, and something that is kind of almost surprised me, it shouldn't have, but surprised me in their answers, was they want you to know how much this community matters to them, the community outside of the doors of Illinois College and outside of that gym, that the town of Jacksonville and the people of Jacksonville matter to them, that they want to be given the opportunity to be visible and to be involved, and they want to, and a direct quote from one of my athletes, they want to pour into the community because the community does a really good job of pouring into athletics in lots of different ways. Sometimes just by showing up and being in the stands. Some of it's financial, some of it's in the connections and the appearances and involvement in the program. But that these are athletes that want to do more than just prove themselves on the court. And we have 5 core values in our program. Positivity, passion, competition, and the 2 that they wanted me to speak on the most, integrity and service, right? That level of integrity is something that we talk about every single day in our gym. That these are young ladies that want to prove and want to show on a day-to-day basis the best and most authentic version of themselves. And that is a direct quote from our handbook that they took on as a challenge. And that is a sentence that's said day to day in our gym, one player to another, saying literally people asking, are you the best version of yourself right now? And typically, as you all probably can figure out, if you have to be asked that question, usually the answer is no, right? And that's okay. They're, again, 17 to 22-year-olds. I hope that I am not still the same person I was at the age of 17 to 22. God bless them if I am. But that is something that they are on a daily basis trying to better themselves and prove. And again, when you think about the way I hear, before I was a full-time coach, while I was back in New Jersey, I was coaching and I was teaching. I was a middle school teacher, I was a bartender, I was a barista, I worked in a deli kind of all at the same time, making my money where I could. And I can't tell you how often I'd have people sitting at my bar talking about, gosh, how do you spend your whole day with kids? And I would say pretty easily, pretty enjoyably. And I was a middle school teacher, so I know that's hard to believe that sometimes middle schoolers will make your day enjoyable. But overall, I would not change anything about what I'm doing and who I spend my time with, because the majority of my day is spent with these young women, bettering themselves, bettering the people around them, and that integrity is such an important word to them. When I first introduced our handbook, we read through our five values and kind of the pillars that they're built on and whatnot. And when I asked which to them is the most important, it was an almost unanimous answer that integrity is the most important of those 5. second only to service. And I think that's not an accident that then when that was put back to them and asked what they want you all to know, they want you to know that that's what matters to them. Service leadership is something, servant leadership, is something that I take very, very seriously. It's the whole nature of my job. All coaches at all levels have some layer of ego hiding in us. We can't avoid that, but truly what I do is to make sure that these young ladies are not only having that positive experience while they're in my program, but that they're prepared for life as best they can be after college. And that's everything from literally how to change a tire and things of that nature to, okay, this is how you should make a doctor's appointment, right? Those are conversations I have to have. And those are some of the things that people say, you're 19, why can't you just do that? Well, if you think about what their first 19 years were like and what they were asked to do, what they weren't asked to do, I think that points to a lot of what we may consider their deficits to be, their real life deficits. I think that a lot of that comes from what their first 19 years of life were. And just like for us, for any of us, what the first 19 years of our lives were, we absolutely had some deficits. I know I did. Again, God bless any coach who had to coach me when I was 19. I thought I knew better than everybody else in the room, and I thought I was the best and smartest person in every room I walked into. I have very quickly learned that I am not. I'm okay with that. And those are rooms that I like to be in. I don't like to be the smartest or most in charge person in a room. That doesn't make me any better, and that doesn't prove to my athletes who hold me accountable every day that I'm still a lifelong learner and that I'm trying to develop myself on their behalf. That service being as important to them as it is, that presents itself in the day-to-day of, hey, what do you need me to do? Do you need me to take this thing for you, right? When it's as simple as who's carrying that box, who's carrying our snack box, because God forbid we don't have a snack box. Again, I'm telling you, sometimes 17 to 22-year-olds are very easy to please. All it takes is a snack box. If you ever struggle, give them a snack box, I promise you. But it's, hey, that person who's supposed to take that snack box has 3 bags in their hands without asking, saying anything, having to be told. They're taking it out of their hands. Hey, it's all good, I got you, don't worry. Right? And that's also when our JV has to travel to Milliken to play, and I told the varsity, hey, you guys are gonna rest, you took your reps in the morning, get your homework done, take some free time for yourself. They came out to Milliken. They drove themselves to Milliken to come and be there in support of their teammates. That was not by me telling them. I wish I could tell you that was my grand idea, and I've come up with every good thing that's happened in our program so far, but that's absolutely not my doing. And that is not just an upperclassman or a senior attitude. It is present in every single class that this program has. And I would argue that it exists in every single program at IC, because the head coaches of those teams and the coaching staffs of those teams take that part of their job, their recruiting process, very seriously. It is not a cliche when coaches tell you, hey, we don't really mind what your skill is like on the court or on the field. We care more about these intangibles. That is a daily conversation between coaches. When I've picked the brains of some of the more experienced, better coaches in the program, in the athletic department, about situations I've been in with recruits so far, it's been, hey, what is their attitude like? Are they gonna make your gym a better experience? Not are they gonna make your team better, not are they gonna be an all-conference player, right? Because hopefully if I'm any good at my job, I can figure that out pretty quickly. I can just watch them and I know what their skill is like. But that level of intangibles is very, very high. and is considered a non-negotiable at Illinois College. And again, I know you all probably have more of a history with that school than I do, but I think it's really important to hear from a newer person who's not used to small town life and small town connections, and I say that as a positive thing. I grew up right outside of New York City, so I am not used to things that close at 8 p.m. I'm used to 24-hour diners. I'm used to every restaurant and every bar being open until 3 or 4 in the morning. I was working at those bars, so my work day started at 7 and ended at 3 for most days. And so the adjustment, when people ask me about my transition and my adjustment to this town and to this school, so much of it is based on me having to get out of my East Coast mentality and recognize what this town and what the athletes at that school across all programs are willing to do for this town and want to give back to this town. And if that has not been made clear to you by other coaches, if it's not obvious to you, I'm going to apologize on behalf of Illinois College, because it is there and it is present. And it is our job, not yours, to make ourselves visible. And that is something that the final athlete that I asked, when she talked about her words pouring into the community, is that they want to be visible and they want to have earned community support, and not just have me come up here and say, hey, we have a home match Tuesday on September 17th at 7 p.m. that I think you should all be at, and you could get a free rally towel at the door. They don't want me to just make that ask, right? They want to earn your support. Our motto for the year is that excellence is earned, and they want to earn every bit of support that they can get from this town and from everybody in this room. And with that, because my timer is going, I'll stop talking. And if you have any questions for me, I'd love to hear from you all about myself, the school, the athletes, any of it.
Yeah, so the assumption is, with the facilities being top-notch and the other athletic departments having, winning quality years, that recruiting is easier, or tell us about the recruiting process.
Yes and no. This is a school that if you can get a kid on campus, we have a really, really good shot of getting them, so to speak. We are a school that is on the scale of private liberal arts school. We are on the more affordable side of that scale based on our scholarship packages. As you said, facilities are the nicest you're gonna find really at the Division III level almost anywhere. It's getting them to campus that can be a struggle for us from an athletic standpoint. We border the CCIW, the conference that like North Central and all the Chicagoland areas schools are in, and those athletic departments have a longer history of success that we are kind of just catching up to. So CCIW schools tend to be a struggle for us initially. The Wisconsin campuses are a really, really hard sell, because those schools are dirt cheap, and almost all of their athletic programs are nationally ranked in the majority of their sports. So if you get attention from a school where you only have to pay $8,000 to go there, and they're ranked 10th in the nation in your sport, I get it. Go ahead. I get it.
First of all, I like the term servant leadership. I just think it's a neat term. Secondly, how does a Jersey girl get from Jersey to Jacksonville and Illinois College?
So before I worked here, I was at a school similar to IC in stature and academic and athletic level on the eastern shore of Maryland, called Washington College. I was the assistant coach there for a couple of years. I decided when I was about 24, that I wanted to take the full dive into full-time coaching. And as I think a lot of people who aspire to be coaches do, I assumed that all coaches had to be high school teachers. So that is how I ended up in the classroom, and I enjoyed my 3 years in the classroom, but I quickly understood that I was teaching just so that I could coach, and that's not a good reason to teach. Nobody should have a teacher that's just there so that they can coach a sport. And then honestly, that kind of comes with the nature of the job, is being willing to relocate and recognize when your time has come and the time to move on from a position, especially at the Division III level. That revolving door and that retention, those time frames tend to be shorter. And the East Coast has tons of Division III schools, so you can throw a stone and hit 20 Division III schools. I've always just kind of wanted to see where the game of volleyball would take me, and see how far and where I could go and who I can meet and how many different environments I can be in. I prefer to be around people that are different than myself. Surprise, shocking news to everybody. The entire country does not operate like the New York City metro area. And I think it's important for me to find that out, and I think it's important for people in other parts of the country to maybe experience that for a little bit, even if it's for a weekend and that's all you can handle. I think everybody should experience both ends of that spectrum.
What was the town?
I grew up in Bloomfield, New Jersey. So if you've ever flown into New Jersey, into Newark Airport, I grew up about 10 to 15 minutes up the highway from there, and about 10 to 15 minutes from Times Square.
So it's probably the Jets instead of the Eagles, right?
Yes.
And by the way, you say that, I really like your tats too.
Thank you.
Who's going to be, besides Illinois College, who's the big dog in the conference?
No, Cornell.
Cornell. Cornell College out of Iowa is the kind of standing big dog in volleyball, and they are in a lot of sports as well. It's not just a volleyball thing. They are kind of the standing big dog in the conference. And they are, when I got here and I asked the girls what goals they had, what they wanted to do, it was, let's beat Cornell. I want to beat Cornell. I want to beat them in the championship. I want to do whatever. And we've had a little bit of a perspective change of, hey, Cornell has to beat us. And before I moved here, Cornell College didn't mean a lot to me. They're a great program, like their coach a lot, but they didn't really mean much to me. And I think that's allowed for a little bit of perspective for the athletes as well, that the world does not revolve around beating Cornell College.
Hey, Coach Scully, hello again.
Hello again.
Ambrose, the new guy. Y'all are too much. I have 3 questions, if my Kiwanis don't mind. 3 questions lead up. Do you mind?
Go
No.
ahead. I'm
Okay,
ready.
great. Coach, February, you were named for the first time your collegiate head coaching position, right?
Yes.
You talked about Washington College, you did a great job there, but you haven't talked much about the head coaching that you did with the elite teams while you were in the East Coast. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So again, in that time of my life where I had about 5 or 6 jobs at any given moment, because that's kind of just what I fell into. I've been coaching high-level club volleyball or travel or AAU volleyball, the equivalent of AAU, for a long time, basically since I was 17, with athletes going on to play at all different levels of the college game, going on to compete at all different levels of a national title for the club side of the ball. I've done it for girls, for boys, high school, club, basically all of it. I was a bit of a coaching junkie. Any coaching job I could fit into a 24-hour day, I would figure out a way to do it.
Great. You talked a little bit about Cornell, right? So you accept the coaching job. This is a team that went 7-1 in conference last season. And you really, if we look at it, it was 2 sets against Cornell that prevented us from getting the Midwest Conference Championship. What philosophies and mind thought are you bringing to the team for us to conquer Cornell?
I think it's honestly a pretty volleyball specific and system choice. We have high level athletes and their literal physical traits, and we have girls that have the highest standing vertical in the athletic department across the majority of the teams, outside of literally the people that their only job is to jump. If you take out the jumpers, you have 2 volleyball players that are ranking kind of at the top of that list. And that, combined with the ability to move really quickly and cover a lot of court in a small amount of time, is something that not a lot of teams can do. So that's something that we're tweaking and just letting them run as high and as fast as their bodies will possibly go.
Okay, 2 more questions if you don't mind.
That's 4.
I know. Forgive me. I'm glad you're keeping count. You're an accountant. Very good.
Just third grade.
Okay. So you guys had a fabulous start, two-game start, dominating start. You go on a vigorous road trip, right? And you're facing some quality opponents. Can you tell us a little bit about that road trip and those opponents? And really my question is the team handling these road trips well?
Yes. So we've handled the road trip so far about as well as we could. That trip to Kentucky those are 3 nationally ranked teams, 3 top 25 teams that by the other coaches' account believe that we should have won 2 of those matches. I think we're just not used to competing and beating teams that are at that level. And the only way to learn to do that is to play. I can't draw up a drill to do it. I can't do it in theory. We have to do it in person. We have to put it in practice. So unfortunately, that's a trial by fire skill that you have to learn. And we're gonna keep doing that. We're gonna keep challenging them, setting them up with as much competition that will push us to prepare us as best as possible for conference. So we are nothing short of fully confident to win the conference.
Great. Last question? Yay! Coach, as we all go out to watch your volleyball team, can you name us 4 of the top people we should be looking for?
So Lily Garibe is a senior outside hitter. She has a uniform number that I haven't memorized yet, so do apologize. But she's the one who jumps the highest in the gym. If you see a girl that you have to look up when she jumps, Lily is her name. She's an all-conference player and all-region honorable mention for the AVCA. So she's a huge part of the offense. Laura Kaiser, another force in the middle of the net for our offense. She's a big girl, wants to run fast and hit the ball hard. She wants to put a hole in the floor or a hole in the face if she can find it. She truly does, and that is not an exaggeration. We have a motto of hit ball hard, and that is led by Laura Kaiser. And on the other side of the ball, we have Alex Johnson, the girl that I talked about earlier. Her leadership is visible and tangible on the court as much as it is off the court. And she is entirely in charge of all things that happen on the first contact for us. We let her run and take control of that because she's earned that right, and her teammates trust her to be able to do that. And then honestly, finally we have a freshman coming up, her name is Delaney Class, who is gaining a lot of confidence very quickly. And with that confidence, when she connects on a ball, I would duck and watch out if you can. Because that ball's coming a mile a minute, and she's only 5'10", 5'11", but she's hitting over some monsters in front of her, and she and those hitters are the reason why we're a fun team to watch. We are an exciting team to watch, and so much of that is because we're a power offense that just wants to hit ball hard.
Great, Coach. Thanks. Appreciate your time. Good luck on your 2 road games, right? And we'll see you the 17th here.
Yes, 17th, 7 o'clock. See you all there.
Yay!